So, Courtney spent the entire first season disrespecting Pat, ignoring his advice, not listening to a word he says, and basically taking an anyone but him approach when it came to the subject of fathers and father figures in general, and now she gets bent out of shape because Pat seems to like another super kid more than her. Because no matter how much better this show might be than the typical CW/Arrowverse fodder in a number of ways, Courtney is still Courtney. Episode 1 of Season 2 ended with Courtney getting into a fight with a girl who claimed to be Green Lantern's daughter. Episode 2 picks up with Courtney reduced to a confused, frustrated walking stress ball due to the fact that her family actually seems to like this girl because she's nice, polite, respectful, and pleasant to be around. I know, right? Like, she meets Pat and is practically starstruck.
Wow, Stripesy, you worked with the original JSA. You're a legend. It's such an honor to meet you.
Then Courtney's family treats this girl with kindness and sympathy instead of suspicion and contempt, and Courtney's brain is just short-circuiting as she watches this. What the hell is going on here? Good behavior is being rewarded all of a sudden? Does not compute! Does not compute! Before you know it, they're putting this girl up in Courtney's room for the night, and Courtney's crashing on the couch wondering how her entire world was just thrown into chaos. And I'm up for any story that's going to address Courtney's ego problem, so this was pretty satisfying. Although her family opening their doors to this girl so quickly after she just tried to rob them was straining credibility just a little bit, but after living with Courtney for so long, having a girl around who has enough manners to apologize for the damage after she caused it must feel like a breath of fresh air, so I'm going to allow this. But I'm jumping ahead a little bit. The episode actually begins with Cindy's mom dancing around her kitchen, drinking wine and smashing more plates than a Greek wedding. Her husband and stepdaughter being MIA for a while has just done wonders for her mental health. So naturally, Cindy shows up at the front door, holds up the Eclipso gem, and the stepmom's eye starts glowing. God only knows what that means. Then we go to a flashback to 6 days ago where Green Lantern's daughter, Jenny, because she's not a kid anymore, is getting kicked out of a group home with nothing but the clothes on her back and some words of advice about how she shouldn't try so hard to make people like her because that's annoying. Seeing as how the alternative is whatever Courtney's been doing, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I digress. Also, Child Services left her something. A little tin box. Inside is a toy car with Todd written on it, and the Green Lantern power ring. When she touches it, her eyes glow, the green energy flows into the ring lights up, and starts leading her off to who knows where. Back in the present, Jenny's settling down in Courtney's room for the night. She takes out a picture of 2 little kids. This makes her eyes light up again, and downstairs, the lantern lights up too. Down in the living room, Courtney's having a rough night because the dog snores, and Courtney doesn't like this good boy because she's just a horrible person. Pat gives her an extra pillow, and Courtney asks him why they're letting this girl in and trusting her when they don't know anything about her. Pat, just because the ring works for her doesn't mean she's Green Lantern's daughter. After all, the cosmic staff works for me, and I'm not Starman's daughter, despite what I spent every goddamn second of Season 1 telling the audience. So what gives? And to be fair, that is a good point. They have no idea who this girl is. She could be anybody. She might be lying to them. They don't know. And Pat just says that the life Courtney wants is more about helping people than fighting bad guys, and Courtney's good at that, so how about just giving Jenny a chance? Which is nice, but it doesn't address Courtney's concerns. And also, I don't know what show Pat's been watching, because fighting bad guys is pretty much the only thing on Courtney's mind 24/7, which still seems to be a lot more about her than it is about helping other people. The next morning, not only has Jenny fixed the table that her and Courtney broke the night before, but she even made pancakes for everyone, which the family seems to really appreciate. And Courtney just does not understand the whole you catch more flies with honey concept, so this whole situation is completely baffling to her. And to make matters even worse, Pat's taking Jenny over to the garage to work on the lantern, but Courtney can't come because she has to go to summer school. school. Suddenly, every bad decision she's been making for the last few months is blowing up in her face, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm here for it. Turns out Yolanda's parents also enrolled her in summer school to keep her out of trouble despite her getting straight A's. You know, I have to say, Yolanda's family seemed like complete assholes. Why are they still giving her the pariah treatment for something that wasn't even her fault in the first place? The only mistake she made was being naive enough to think that she could send her boyfriend a titty pic and no one else would ever see it. That we can chalk up to her just being a teenage girl who doesn't know how the world works yet. Then, just because Cindy pulled some fappening bullshit on her that even the boyfriend was caught off guard by, like a year later, Yolanda's family are still treating her like she's some kind of word I can't say because it would get this video demonetized. Let's say they treat her like a female of ill repute who performs acts of a sordid, inappropriate, or sexual nature in exchange for financial compensation. Yeah, that should cover me. Anyway, the short version is, Yolanda's parents suck. Moving on. Also enrolled in summer school are Tuba Bitch, who's still wishing he was badass enough to use a trumpet and still coming up woefully short, and Rick, who's not there because he's busy throwing Grundy a pizza party. Literally. He's dropping off more food for Grundy, who gobbled up the chicken Rick left the day before. Then Beth calls to tell Rick about Jenny, so he has to leave. But Grundy watches from the shadows, probably bitching to himself about how Rick forgot the anchovies or something. Over at the garage, Zeke has just finished installing the flamethrower in the giant robot suit, and he's like, well, my work here is done. See you tomorrow, Pat. And then he just f***s off. He doesn't ask what Pat plans to use the flamethrower for, or anything. I desperately want more information about Zeke, but the fact that he's just some mysterious dude who cares about nothing but attaching weapons to the giant robot suit is kind of what makes this so funny. So Jenny fills Pat in on how she got the ring. Pat thinks it's odd that she didn't need to recharge the ring with the lantern like Alan Scott used to. Also, the lantern blows the screwdriver away when he tries to open it up, and Pat thinks the lantern might be reacting to Jenny's emotions somehow. So she starts trying to make constructs with it. Pat helps her, she's grateful for the help, and they seem to be getting along famously, which has Courtney's blood boiling all the way over at school. Courtney spends class complaining to Yolanda about Jenny, and she spends lunch complaining to Yolanda about Jenny. I'm telling you, Yolanda, this bitch is up to something. I mean, she's being all polite, making breakfast for people, apologizing for stuff she broke while I was rightfully kicking her ass. And then, get this, get this, she actually had the balls to treat Pat with basic human decency and respect? Who the hell does she think she is? I mean, the pancakes were actually really good, but this shady asshole has got supervillain written all over her. Am I right? Am I right? Courtney, I asked you to pass the ketchup like 10 minutes ago. Some old-timey car comes into town, and the driver is dressed like Mr. Peanut, so there's no question about who he is. First thing he does is go to see Barbara and introduces himself as Richard Swift. He says he's a collector and loves magic-type things, so he's interested in William Zarek's stuff and is willing to pay an obscene amount of money to get it. Nothing suspicious about that whatsoever. So while Barbara looks into this, she directs Mr. Swift to Richie's Diner, where he can continue being as inconspicuous as possible by ordering tea. And because Barbara's not an idiot, she calls Pat the second this dude leaves her office to tell him there might be a supervillain in town. Back at the garage, everyone is super impressed with Jenny's energy constructs. Rick and Beth went and told her about the team, and the bitch even has the audacity to be nice to Yolanda? Well, you'd better believe that was the last straw for Courtney, who makes a scene saying, how can we trust this person when she broke into our house and tried to steal our stuff? I do think Courtney kind of has a point that maybe they shouldn't trust this girl 100% until they know a little more about her. It's not so much what she's saying, but the way she's saying it. But still, her acting like a brat is not being framed as a good thing, and that helps. We check back in with Cindy's mom, who's seeing a spectral image of Eclipso in her butcher knife, and hearing voices in her head telling her that the only way she gets her life back, the one she had before the abduction, is to kill Cindy. Well, she could just pawn all her husband's stuff and hit the road, but murder works too, I guess. Back at the garage, Pat urges Courtney to apologize to Jenny and says that Courtney's best superpower is seeing the good in other people. Beats the hell out of me where he's getting that from, and he doesn't understand why she can't see that in Jenny. So Courtney finally admits that Jenny makes her feel like a fraud, because Jenny's everything that Courtney should be, a legacy superhero and all that cool stuff. But Pat explains that they're actually very similar, and Jenny's just trying to learn more about a father she never really knew, like Courtney was, and this makes slightly more sense, so Courtney thinks it over while Pat gets a call from Barbara and runs out to check on something. So Courtney apologizes to Jenny, and to her credit, she seems sincere about it. She even tries to talk up Jenny, saying that Jenny's so awesome and has all this cool stuff going for her, but Jenny suddenly gets really upset because the ring was supposed to let her do anything, but it didn't. All she wanted was to find her brother, and she hoped the ring would lead her to him, but instead it led her to the stupid lantern that she supposedly needed to make the ring work. Okay. And in her anger, she bats the lantern off the table, it seems to break, and starts glowing out of control. Or something. Cut to Richie's, where Pat kind of stages a little impromptu meeting with Richard Swift and strikes up a conversation to feel this guy out a little bit. If they encountered each other in the old JSA days, I'm not sure why Swift wouldn't recognize Pat, seeing as how Stripesy didn't wear a mask, but it's one of those things that you have to take with a grain of salt. The conversation's going alright until Pat notices the JSA kids with the lantern looking like it's about to go off like the 4th of July running past the window, and somehow Pat is the only person in the entire diner who sees this. Don't ask me how. So Pat goes after them. They're like right in the center of town. The lantern's glowing like a fucking nuke. Not a single other person around anywhere, even though I don't know how the hell someone doesn't notice this. The kids don't know what to do, but Pat reminds Jenny about the lantern reacting to her emotions, and this makes Courtney realize that the real lantern is actually Jenny herself, that the ring was working for her because she was charging it. I'm not really sure how she connected those dots, but she tells Jenny that she can absorb the energy before the lantern blows. She encourages Jenny, and Jenny tells them all to get back in case this doesn't work, but they all stay with her, which is nice. Jenny seems to get the lantern under control, and then it blows up. And when everyone comes to, Jenny has been transformed into a being comprised of Green Lantern energy, and she can even fly. Pretty cool. I mean, if I'm Jenny, I'm worried that I might not be able to change back into my human form, but that doesn't get addressed this week. And I'm sorry, but how the did no one in town see this? Have you ever lit up a glow stick at night? You can see one of those things for fucking hundreds of yards. Now here's Jenny, a giant human-sized glow stick floating there in the middle of town, and it attracts no attention whatsoever. It's just a little silly is all I'm saying. The next day, Barbara tells Courtney that Jenny was gone when she woke up. I suspect because her powers are gonna max out the special effects budget, so we probably won't be seeing Jenny every week. Then Courtney talks to Pat, who's looking through the JSA files, and tells him that Jenny made her realize what's really important. Her friends, her family, all that good stuff. And she made Courtney realize that she's been taking Pat for granted, and she should have been more appreciative of Pat this whole time. So, from now on, she's just gonna focus on being Courtney Whitmore first, and if a supervillain happens to show up, then she'll focus on being Stargirl. And that sounds like a very healthy, grown-up, responsible decision to make. Some real progress was just made here. So you can almost see Pat's soul die a little bit as he says to her, yeah, funny you should mention that, because the Shade is in town.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Forget I said anything. You gas up the flamethrower, call me in sick from summer school, I'll go get my staff! Stargirl is back, bitches!
Cut to Cindy coming home after a long day of doing something. Maybe she was trying to recruit Tuba Bitch for the ISA? I don't know. The mom tries to kill her with a butcher knife, but Cindy defeats her easily. And then, surprisingly, Cindy pleads with the mom to not go for the knife again. But she does. And this causes Cindy to go all weird. Her skin turns dark blue and her eyes start glowing red like that kid from the flashback in episode 1. The Eclipso gem lights up again, boasting about how humans are so easily corrupted, and the mom is absorbed into the gem, or something. Cindy returns to normal. The gem says it had to take control in order to protect her. I'm not sure why that doesn't set off Cindy's bullshit detector, but it doesn't. And she says that her body is hers. If Eclipso tries that again, he's going back in the box. So he agrees and plays the good little servant for now. And the episode ends with Cindy saying, "I didn't want her dead." Cindy seems to feel a little bit bad about this. She's still a monster, but there's a few little tiny specks of humanity peeking through here. So even someone like Cindy might not be all bad. Interesting. Okay, I like this episode, but I have a few issues. It was another very slow-paced, character-focused episode, just like the season premiere. And yes, that's why I like the premiere so much. But remember, in that video, I said they couldn't do this every week. Episodes like that tend to work because they're outliers. Eventually, you do have to remember that you're doing a show about superheroes here. Now, as an origin story for Jenny, I think this was fine. The character was likable. I wasn't super impressed with the actress or anything, but she did what she needed to do. I do think the episode could have used a little more action. Now, some parts felt like the story was stretching a little thin, like the Rick plot didn't reveal anything we didn't see in the premiere. They said there was a crime spree in Blue Valley on the radio last week. Maybe they could have had a scene where the JSA kids or Jenny caught a shoplifter or something. I don't know, but I'm not asking for much here. Of course, we got more of Courtney being a brat this week, which I feel like is better when done in moderation, but it's not for no reason, and it's in the service of giving her actual development, which is good. Courtney swallowing her pride and apologizing to Jenny, I liked. I just feel like one or two of these issues are things Courtney should have gotten past by now. Like insisting that Pat is just her stepdad? Really? We're still doing this? I thought Courtney was over that. But the plot's starting to move along now. Not much to go on with the Shade yet, but the Eclipso stuff is getting dark in a hurry. I am more interested in the Shade, but putting Eclipso with Cindy was a good idea if the point is to start painting Cindy with shades of gray, because Eclipso is clearly going to be more villainous than she is. Now it's like, how long before Cindy realizes that Eclipso is manipulating her, and what happens when she does? Maybe her and the JSA kids will have to join forces to stop Eclipso or something. Team-ups like that are always fun. So, good episode overall. I like where it's headed, but I do think it's time to accelerate things a little bit and maybe have an action scene or two. You know, I'm enjoying this season so far. I'm just not sure if it makes for good review fodder. There's not a lot for me to dissect here. Just, I like this, I like that, I have a couple nitpicks. Maybe there'd be more interest in me covering something else? I don't know, but I do have more to say about What If than I thought I would. So I might have to switch gears. We'll see, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode down below. Ding the bell icon and follow me on social media so you'll always know when I upload new stuff. I also have a live streaming channel now. The links are down there. Thumbs up the video, share, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more soon. So stay tuned for that. Do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you in the next one.